This is one of the most shocking images to emerge from the deep web in the past decade. A slender British model suddenly appeared marked as a commodity on the deep web, openly listed for sale. The ad claimed she could be delivered across Europe for a staggering $300,000. But the truly chilling part was the organization behind this post, a mysterious group calling itself Black Death, known for engaging in some of the most inhumane, illegal dealings on the deep web. So, what exactly is the deep web, and what ultimately happened to this marked model? Chloe Aylin, a British influencer born in the mid-90s, was scouted by an agent on the street when she was 18. She quickly signed with a well-known manager, Phil, and began her career as a model and online personality. Chloe's work mainly involved various commercial photo shoots, but to increase her personal brand, she also regularly posted photos on social media to build a following. With her appealing looks and efficient work style, Chloe's income surpassed £50,000 a year by the time she was 20. She worked tirelessly, not only for herself, but also because she had a 2-year-old son to support. Just as her career was on the rise, a seemingly ordinary photo shoot changed the course of her life. In April 2017, Chloe Aylin's agent, Phil, received an email from someone claiming to be an Italian photographer named Andre. Andre mentioned he was planning a motorcycle advertisement shoot in Paris and believed Chloe had the right look for the project. However, due to budget constraints, they would only cover Chloe's travel costs, ensuring a professional team would be available in Paris to support her. As her agent, Phil was cautious about the offer and decided to research Andre's background. The results were reassuring. Andre appeared to be a professional photographer with a solid portfolio. Furthermore, as they continued discussing logistics, Andre displayed excellent professionalism, easing Phil's concerns about the project. With everything appearing legitimate, Phil felt comfortable letting Chloe head to Paris alone. However, the shoot did not go as planned. Upon Chloe's arrival in Paris, she first visited a few famous landmarks, sharing updates on social media. Later, she returned to her hotel to rest for the following day's photo shoot. But the next morning, Chloe received news that the shoot had been cancelled. According to Andre, some disturbances had occurred in Paris, and his studio had been ransacked. As a result, they had to cancel the project, but he assured her she could keep the £900 advance payment and that her travel costs would still be covered. Though disappointed, Chloe was left with a positive impression of Andre's professionalism. 3 months later, Andre reached out to Phil again, this time proposing a photo shoot in Milan. This arrangement, like the last, required Chloe to travel alone. Given their previous interaction, neither Phil nor Chloe saw a reason to question it. They quickly arranged for Chloe to head to Milan, but neither could have foreseen that this would mark the beginning of a sinister plot. On July 10, 2017, Chloe arrived in Milan, as planned. She was scheduled to return home after a brief photo shoot and some sightseeing, but when her flight landed back home, both Phil and Chloe's family received no word from her. Initially, Phil assumed Chloe was simply extending her stay for leisure, though it seemed odd that she hadn't informed him. After 2 days with no updates, Phil sensed something was amiss. He called the airline, only to learn Chloe had never boarded her flight. She was still in Milan, but nobody could reach her. Then, a chilling email landed in Phil's inbox, making him panic instantly. The sender identified themselves as part of Black Death, a notorious underground organization known in certain circles for alleged dealings with affluent, mysterious clients. The disturbing part? Their commodities are rumored to be young women from around the world. The email claimed that Chloe was currently in their custody. To ensure her safe return, they demanded $300,000. Otherwise, Chloe would be auctioned on the deep web. At the end of the email, they even included contact information for 3 individuals, likely those close to Chloe with the financial means to raise the ransom. Phil recognized these names as Chloe's close contacts, likely provided by her as a survival measure. Without hesitation, Phil reported the situation to emergency services and contacted the British consulate in Milan, hoping they could provide more substantial assistance in rescuing Chloe. From this moment, the case began to take an even stranger turn. Since the incident occurred in Italy, Italian police took charge of the investigation. They first looked into Andre, only to find out that his online persona was entirely fabricated. He didn't exist. The studio location he'd provided was an empty building. However, they did find a Black Death card left behind and some of Chloe's personal belongings, indicating that this was where she had likely been abducted. Meanwhile, posing as Phil, the police continued to correspond with the suspected kidnappers through email, gathering details about the supposed auction. The date was set for July 16th, with a starting bid of $300,000. The auction page featured a haunting image of Chloe lying on the floor, eyes empty, with a Black Death card placed on her stomach. As the auction day approached, Italian authorities were still without leads. Despite Phil's best efforts to contact Chloe's wealthy acquaintances, none were willing to cover the ransom, with only $20,000 raised so far. Due to the international nature of the case, an international organization was also brought in, prepared to take action if Chloe's location was discovered in time. But as the auction day arrived, there was still no trace of Chloe's whereabouts, nor could they find a way to access the deep web auction itself. Anxiety mounted. Was Chloe truly about to disappear without a trace? Yet the very next day, something unexpected occurred. On July 17th, the British consulate in Milan received a surprise visitor. A man arrived with a young woman, none other than the missing Chloe Aylin. Local police quickly took both individuals to the station to get to the bottom of what had happened. According to Chloe, it was her captor who brought her back. Her recent days had been a nightmare. After arriving at the arranged shoot location, she initially found no one there to meet her. When she stepped inside, the place was pitch dark, and just as she turned to leave, someone grabbed her and injected her with something, making her lose consciousness. When she came to, Chloe found herself confined in a locked container. From the movement, she guessed she was being transported somewhere. The vehicle stopped several times, and the driver would occasionally check on her to make sure she was still breathing. Finally, she was brought to an isolated farmhouse where she was bound to a table. Soon after, the driver left, and another man entered. It was the photographer, Andre. For the first time, Chloe truly met Andre, who now revealed that his real name was Lukasz, and that he worked for a notorious group called the Black Death. He explained that a wealthy client had taken an interest in Chloe, and they were facilitating his request. He warned Chloe against attempting to escape, insisting that the organization had extensive reach. Not only would the police struggle to trace them, but even if she managed to flee, they would always find her. However, he said there was still a chance for her to return home, as the Black Death operated by certain principles. For example, they refrained from selling individuals with serious health issues, expectant mothers, or those with young children. Initially, they hadn't realized Chloe was a mother, so as long as her ransom could be raised, she would be released. Chloe provided 3 wealthy contacts, hoping they might help, which led to the email Phil received. But Chloe wasn't entirely confident the ransom would be paid, so she decided to attempt her own plan. She tried to charm Lukasz to gain his trust. Lukasz seemed to respond to this tactic and soon began divulging more details about his organization, while also loosening his restrictions on her. Before long, they were acting like a couple, though Chloe's movements remained confined to the farmhouse grounds. Seeing her opportunity, Chloe became even more cooperative, hoping to persuade Lukasz to release her. Surprisingly, he went as far as formally requesting permission from the group, arguing that her release could bring them beneficial publicity. To Chloe's surprise, the higher-ups in the organization agreed, and so Lukasz escorted her back to the British consulate, leading to the unexpected scene described earlier. Hearing this story, everyone found it hard to believe. Yet, Lucas's testimony matched Chloe Aylin's account, which validated her version of events. Thus, this international abduction case was unexpectedly resolved through the honey trap tactic of a social media star. However, when such an implausible story went public, neither the media nor the public seemed to buy it. After all, the Black Death Group was a notorious organization, and it was hard to imagine them acting so emotionally or with such carelessness. This skepticism led to a theory that Chloe had never been abducted, but was instead promoting herself. In response, Milan authorities released some specific details that added a sense of authenticity to the case. For instance, Chloe had a visible injection mark on her arm, and traces of sedative substances were found in her system. Investigators also located the site of her reported captivity, where physical evidence aligned with her claims. Yet, when reviewing nearby surveillance footage, police repeatedly saw Chloe and Lucas walking hand in hand around town. This conflicted with Chloe's story, and locals claimed they often saw the two together without sensing anything unusual. Chloe later explained that Lucas had told her the entire town was filled with members of his organization, so she tried to act as normal as possible, fearing for her safety. Despite these inconsistencies, the case proceeded to court, where yet another twist awaited. In February 2018, a court in Milan began hearing the case. During the trial, Lucas suddenly changed his story, claiming he was merely playing along with Chloe's scheme. He asserted that they had known each other for years, and that he was never a member of the Black Death Group. According to Lucas, he had fallen under Chloe's influence, acting as a fall guy because he was infatuated with her. Realizing she intended to pin the blame on him, he decided to come clean. While Lucas's story had many elements, the court only accepted his statement that he wasn't affiliated with the Black Death Group. He was sentenced to 16 years and 9 months in prison. His brother Mikhail, who had acted as the driver, was extradited and received a sentence just 1 month shorter. Both men appealed, and in consideration of Lucas's decision to bring Chloe to the British consulate, Their sentences were reduced by 4 years. Even with the official verdict, many people still doubted Chloe. She has since become a prominent influencer and has even launched a private subscription account, providing her fans with more exclusive content.